Well, thank you very much for your introduction. My name is Satoru Nishikawa. It's my great honor to be invited here to deliver and share some of our Japanese experience. Now, let me start. Modern nature is not so gentle. We have earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, typhoons, heavy monsoon rains, floods, landslides, and we have a fair share of approximately 80.5% of all the major earthquakes on the globe. So we have a very long tradition of coping with natural disasters. The list on the right is the list of the deadly earthquakes. And if you compare the two, you will notice that the two are totally different. The third one, the 2004 Indonesia Sumatra earthquake, which generated the Indian Ocean tsunami, was the third strongest and the third deadliest, but the others are quite different. Now, an earthquake in the no man's desert is not a disaster. It's just an abnormal natural phenomenon. But when it hits a vulnerable community, it turns into a disaster. And even with modern science, we cannot stop earthquakes, we cannot stop cyclones. However, we can improve the societal conditions. If we can decrease the vulnerabilities of the community, we would be able to decrease the disasters. Now the question is, how to do it? Since the 1994 Yokohama strategy, it is said that there are 4 phases of disaster reduction. Pre-disaster for prevention, mitigation, and preparedness. And if something happens, response and recovery and reconstruction. Now, let's take an example of an earthquake. There would be 2 options. Either to invest in reinforcing buildings before the earthquake and be safe, or to buy insurance and after the building collapse and after the funerals, get the insurance money. The question is, will the family members who lost their beloved ones be happy with the insurance money after the very sad funeral? And I prefer the left. The Japanese approach is to do something beforehand. Then, how can we take action before? We can take preventive action based on past experiences. That means understanding the history of disasters. The disaster records and statistics must be archived. The lessons learned must be archived and disseminated. Also, we can take preventive action based on appreciation of risk. We have modern science. We can understand the scientific mechanism of hazards. Risk assessment with consideration of societal conditions can be done. And the results of risk assessment must be disseminated, understood, and be acted on. A culture of prevention must prevail to encourage action for safety and resilience. Here are some elements, the basic elements for earthquake safety of housing. First, we have to have the basic seismology and seismic engineering knowledge. Also, the public at large must accept the value of earthquake safety. Also, the local architects and the masons, they have to be able to meet the demand of the public for safe houses. They have to do the good planning, structural engineering, and quality control of the construction. We have seen the tragic event in Turkey and Syria this February. There are news reports. What was the weaknesses of Turkey in case of February 2023? If you go to the universities in Turkey, there are a lot of scientific research and advanced technologies existing in the Turkish universities. But it seems that the other two components were weak. Now, in Japan, the year 2004 was called the year of disasters. 10 typhoons landed on mainland Japan. The last one, in Typhoon Tokage, an elderly group bus tour was stranded on the in the floodwaters, and the group spent a night on the bus rooftop. If you look at that picture, the right picture, you see something like a boat, and it's not a boat. It's a rooftop of the bus, and the group there is the group of the elders.
Unexpected things. So we have to emphasize disasters are not somebody else's. And also, do's and don'ts preaching style educational materials do not attract adults' attention. Once a year in Japan, we make a national poster competition for disaster awareness. And this poster is an award-winning poster of 2005. And it says, the tragic footages you see on the TV screens are not isolated events. It may be right behind it. I like this poster very much. So, with the experience of my on-site coordination at Niigata, and when I was working in the cabinet office, I started the so-called Ichinichi Mae program, the day before program. And this is an application of psychology. And what we do is that we go to the affected site, maybe 3 or 5 or 8 years ago, when the conditions are settled down. And we interview the people who were seriously affected by a disaster, or who have responded to a disaster by posing the question, what would you do if you were back the day before the disaster? Then they will start telling you how they suffered, how it was so difficult, how they regret that they have done something wrong. And this is compiled into a short story with an added illustration. So let me show you some examples. And this is on the website of the Cabinet Office of Japan, and it's free of use for any public awareness activities for disasters. Let me read this. Landslides is too dangerous to flee at the event. A horrific noise, like the theme music of the Messenger from Heaven, blasted from the ground. The noise was approaching, and when I looked out of my window, brown avalanche was pressing towards me. Following it, numerous rocks and voluminous debris rushed to me. Oh, my house will be crushed. The moment I felt that, something smashed my house. Breaking noise. I was immersed up to my waist. The shattered window glass attacked me. My leg was cut. Mud water turned red with my blood. How can I escape? Now, oh, I need shoes. I came to my knife. I snatched one of my shoes, drifting on the mud water, hardly put them on, waded through the fallen sofa and chairs, found another shoe, put it on, and tried to escape out of the patio. The door sill was crooked and couldn't open. I barely escaped out of the main door, with the debris broken. Just outside my doorsteps, torrents of mud water dug the ground for 4 to 5 meters, right on the river, roared noisily. My house was in, but to my grief, I could never come back and live in my house. This is another example of an experience of landslides. Because of my time limitation, I will not read it through, but it gives you an image, a concrete image. What is a landslide? In Japan, the local government encouraged households to have at least 3 days of emergency food and water. But it's not always the case. Let me read this. The earthquake came when I was working in my office. Everything in the office turned over and fell. Fortunately, nobody was injured in that case. I reported to the main office that we were all safe. I informed my parents that I was lucky to get my email messages through and felt relieved. Then I went home to my dormitory room. It was a terrible mess. Since I am single and living alone, I do not cook. I always dine outside or hold lunchboxes at nearby convenience stores. My refrigerator was always empty. I asked my parents in the countryside to send me some food, but immediately after the earthquake, the package delivery service was not available. So my relief food supplies did not reach me. Supermarkets and convenience stores had empty shelves. I nearly starved to death. I really recognize the importance of food stock. If I was back the day before the earthquake, I would buy canned food. So this is another example of an earthquake. An office worker was working in his office, and he was trained to take certain action in case of earthquakes. But he was so surprised, he was caught in a stopper and could not immediately move. So that's this is his story. Now everybody uses the social media, and that may cause an problem. This is an example of an earthquake in Hokkaido where the entire Hokkaido faced an electricity blackout afterwards. My daughter is in Tokyo, and she immediately called me online is a Japanese business, and asked, "There was a huge earthquake in Hokkaido. Are you okay?" I replied, "We are fine." She seemed to have been tossed around by information on the social media. I asked her what kind of rumors they were talking about. It was very big, gigantic earthquake and devastating, all of Hokkaido collapsed, etc. I remember exchanging messages with her saying, "Oh, Hokkaido just means that the electricity has gone out." I still feel very sorry for my daughter being at the mercy of misinformation. Is that clear information out there? Even a local acquaintance of mine, who is well versed in such matters, told me that he unintentionally told his family about this misinformation regarding the blackout online, asking them to please spread the word. I felt that it's very important to know how to judge the credibility of the information. Now that I'm involved in FM radio program, the next time a disaster occurs, such as an eruption of Mount Fuji or Inequality, I would like to provide proper and accurate information from the spectrum. In Japan, we have tsunamis. This is a very sad story. On 9 March, 2 days before the Great East Japan earthquake and tsunami, an earthquake happened off the Sanriku coast, and the tsunami warning was issued. My aunt, aged over 80, resident of Miyako City, followed the tsunami evacuation advisory and went to the high ground. The tsunami on this day was only 50 centimeters high. I was shocked to hear that she did not evacuate on 11 March. Her daughter-in-law tried to persuade her to evacuate, emphasizing that tsunami this time is far dangerous than 9 March. But she was stubborn and refused to evacuate, and she died with a young bride as her companion. On that day, the local radio first broadcasted that the initial wave of tsunami was observed in Okinawa, 20 centimeters high at 2:46. Some say that this is why she did not evacuate, but that does not justify her misdoing. I really wish that anyone who felt an earthquake in the coastal area should evacuate, no matter what. In Japan, the municipal mayors are given the first responsibility of disaster response. And in Japan, our cabinet office and the Fire Disaster Management Agency always organizes seminars and courses for the mayors. But they are busy. They seldom come. And even if they come, what they do in the class is they usually sleep. So, at one time, I invited this former mayor to share his experience. Let me read this. The response to the volcanic eruption of Mount Fusu in 2000 is often quoted as a success story of early warning and evacuation. But it was a mere luck, I must say. The 1977 volcanic mudflow killed one of my daughters, her classmate. This made me serious about volcanoes and kept insisting that our town has to coexist with the volcano. Our response to the 2000 volcanic eruption was a mere product of chance, and we barely secured our safety. Before dawn on 28 March 2000, when I was informed that volcanic earthquakes are sharply increasing, I was heavily drinking in a local bar, was not able to rush immediately to my office. I was aware that Mount Fusu tends to erupt within a few hours of volcanic earthquakes, but I could make it to my office because of drinking. Local mayors like me have many parties they must attend. So we must take caution. I really regret that I was in such a bad condition when I had to go to the volcanic crisis. Luckily, as a result, there was 3 days before the real eruption, and we were able to manage. But I still regret why I was in such a shameful condition on that day. Isn't he honest? And when he told this story in the class, all the mayors woke up. The stories of a human being in a similar position raises empathy, and that gives good attention. Now, after a disaster, what happens? We have to build back better. And I guess there are many definitions regarding building back better. And this is my answer. After a major disaster, everybody is first in the storm. But if we have a good plan for a better future, and if the affected population can feel that there would be safer and healthy future for their children and their grandchildren, and if they can have a sense of satisfaction, assurance, and ownership, they will be confident that they will feel that way. What is the wish of the affected population? They want to secure safe housing. They need swift recovery of livelihoods. No more repetition of disasters. And they would wish to turn the affected area to a more routine area. The question is, how can we turn that tragedy or the crisis to into a better opportunity for the future? So try to turn the affected area to a resilient area. Do not consider that disasters are an isolated event. Recognize the risk of other areas to be similarly affected. Do not wait for the next tragedy to hit the country. And so there's a need to incorporate disaster risk reduction in spatial planning and also investment for social infrastructure. So there's a need to enlarge the scope of DRR towards nationwide resilience and also investment in infrastructure. Generate multiplier effects. It creates employment and create chances for the hard-hit areas to recover economically. And regional planning and infrastructure planning is an integral component of that. Now, in order to have this, there has to be local political support. This is an research result of after an election poll in 2016. And the question is, what is the concern of the local voters when they vote? And there are various issues on the election agenda. And in Japan in 2016, disaster reduction ranked as the sixth priority of the election agenda. If that happens, the local politicians have to think about disaster reduction. And that is a good driving force to maintain disaster reduction at the local level. In Japan, there are many monuments of disasters. The left is the monument of the children who perished after the 1923 Great Catastrophe. The right is a stone monument erected after the 1933 tsunami. And on the back of this stone monument, it said that no house should be built below this elevation. This stone monument was erected on the point where the highest tsunami reached. The question is, why did our ancestors leave these historical assets for us? They did not want their descendants to suffer similarly. And we have to take their lessons, their messages seriously. I have worked in the Japanese government for 36 years, and out of 36 years, 12 years in disaster reduction and emergency response. The biggest challenge is this. After a major disaster, the news media and the politicians, they would be all excited and they would shout, do something. So the budget for disaster reduction must be increased. And if that is successful, there will be peaceful years. Then the politicians will start questioning, why are you wasting money for disaster reduction, which does not make immediate cash? Then the budget is cut, and we are back to square one. This is the irony of disaster reduction administration. On one occasion, I made this event at the Prime Minister's office. I thought that it's really important to convince the highest level of political figures. So I brought these very simple models to the Prime Minister's office and asked the Prime Ministers and all the ministers and Cabinet Secretary experience a very simplified model of seismic retrofit of traditional wooden houses. And it's simple and easy to understand. Now they take it seriously. Now, how can we take action? It's a combination of the past experience and the science, appreciation of risk. And if we can imagine future disaster impacts, for example, what if your house collapsed, school collapsed, or hospital collapsed? Then you would be initiated or motivated to take some action. And we know that there are knowledge of effective preventive methods. Then we can take action. Cultural prevention must prevail to encourage action for safety and relief. Please take a look at these three pictures. The March 2011 is the Great East Japan earthquake and tsunami. Please imagine what the other pictures are. The 2013 is Tacloban in the Philippines after the Typhoon Yolanda, where Tacloban was destroyed by the storms. The September 2005 is New Orleans in the United States. Hurricane Katrina destroyed New Orleans. Now, totally different countries, different phenomena, but the result is so similar. So we do not have to wait for all the countries to experience the same tragedy. That is the reason for the international cooperation disaster reduction. There is a famous saying in Japan that says that natural disasters will hit us while the people have forgotten them. So, thank you very much for your attention. And excuse me, I have to rush to my example. Sorry.
I'll request Professor Ghosh to quickly give a vote of thanks. We had, imposed Hindi on him, so I'll now request him to give little Japanese vote of thanks.
Nishikawa sensei, どうもありがとうございます。時間がないので、今、エンディングの方に僕ともう一回、友野さん、友野木さんの時間がありますから、西川先生と JICA の方で、so he has to leave very soon. And we are very happy to have your things, and moreover, he is being a structural engineer, serving so many years in the government, and especially the last slide that which he has shown, that storytelling especially, that from the mayors, that which is a confession, has made others to rise of the occasion. That is really sensitive, and that is really very, very strong point. I think we all have noted, and today especially with the kind of things that you have seen, that NIDM and UNICEF have come up with a similar kind of effort over here, which is presently in this form, but it is to be interpreted in our mind, action and day-to-day life in this special day, not only this day and now onward. So thank you very much, and thank you JICA team yes, for coming over here, and we will be very happy to have you sir. Moikai opening. You can permit one comment. Yeah.
Just I wanted to say that I had the chance to collaborate with Japanese partners, and we learned 4 F's from them: find, heal, fight and forget. That's how they deal with the problems. And I must congratulate, they were there with us just before the tsunami struck, and they went back after the tsunami struck. So thank you.
My request, EDRIDM to kindly